Welcome back to the SA Weekly Talk Show. Your host, Mike Callahan, here with Dylan Rothenberg of the SimpleGrowth team. And Dylan's just been dropping some crazy knowledge the last couple of weeks here in the service autopilot and service industry ecosystem. So I thought no better guest to bring on to close out this week is Dylan to talk about business success with service autopilot, to have your CRM, your customer relationship management software set up for success to go out and crush the springtime rush that not only the lawn care industry is seeing right now, but the home cleaning industry as well, pool, pest, you name it. The spring rush is on. So any comments or questions, drop below. Dylan and I will try to get to those in the live or recorded version. But we have a compressed schedule today because Dylan is hopping into another deep dive setup where we sit knee to knee with service business owners and help them set up their service autopilot from beginning to end and basically alleviate 5 or 6 years worth of learning curve and setup. So without any further delay, Dylan, I'm going to flip it over to you and hopefully pop your screen onto our screen. All right. And
there we go.
There we go. A little Facebook magic. So we'll see what we got going here. I guess that'll work. I'll hang out on top. So
yeah.
All right. Floor is yours, brother. So are you flying by the seat of your pants? Well, sometimes it feels that way. So let's see what it's all about.
Yeah, and the entire premise of this is everybody's swamped right now with the spring rush. And if your things aren't set up 100% correctly, this is where you start to see some pain points, right? Your CRM should kind of be your fortress, your line of defense, your team member that's going to be working 24/7. So we threw in the Cheeto meme here. From the webinar last night, basically saying, you might think your system is 100% set up and it's doing okay for now, but eventually there's going to be some type of competitive force, whether it's a spring rush or major competitor comes in, and you got to have this thing 100% set up, not only to meet these kind of forces that are at play, but also to make sure that you can grow and actually scale and not pull your hair out. So that's kind of the premise of everything here today. So I think everybody knows a little bit about me, but both myself and Mike have both had lawn care companies, snow removal companies, and I've been a SimpleGrowth actual client, and now help companies kind of grow with SimpleGrowth. So that's a kind of quick blurb about me, but I think everybody should know me a little bit by now. Once again, the premise is kind of the normal way of doing business, and just kind of resting on your laurels isn't going to cut it moving forward, right? Most people just start a business, they get really busy, and then things tend to fall through the cracks. Usually, like I was saying earlier, the spring rush is what kind of exposes these weaknesses that you thought maybe we can get by for another season without really thinking through our CRM. So you're kind of forced with two options, right? Blue pill, systematize the business, or red pill. Maybe you don't close the business. Maybe that's a little bit sensationalist, but you're going to have some serious issues, and no one really wants that, right? If you can avoid it, let's do it. You don't need to make the same mistakes that I'm pretty candid in saying not everything that I did in my business before SimpleGrowth was 100% perfect, right? If someone's made those mistakes before, you don't need to do them again. So kind of what does this lead to, right? What if I don't actually take a couple steps back and set my business up properly from the get-go? Well, Mike, I'm sure you've had this a couple times. I know I did, where I realized I set this up entirely wrong. I got to go back through everybody and fix their files. Or that's just a random example, but I think everybody can kind of relate to that, right? Where you said, geez, I should have taken a little bit more time and thought this out. So the owners are frustrated. It affects your sales. Just was speaking to a company where their growth is plateaued because everything is literally relying on one person. They haven't actually built out any of that knowledge into the system that you're paying for, that you've invested so much time and money into, right? And ultimately, unfortunately, this leads to business owners and kind of companies saying, geez, like, should I have even gone into business for myself? This is an opportunity cost, right? You could probably go get a job. As a business owner, you should be getting oversized reward for your actions and the risks that you're taking in your business. And by not having everything set up, I can kind of lead to lackluster results. So that's kind of the premise for that. But I like to use this little analogy where if a plane is taking off and it goes veers a little bit off course, when it arrives at its destination, or what it thinks is its destination, it can actually be hundreds and hundreds of miles off course. So that's what a lot of businesses that we actually deal with are. It's kind of a good metaphor for that, where you're in your status quo, you're operating your business, it's actually working, and everything seems fine right now, but you don't really realize that you're actually in this little section of the trajectory right now, where you can't even tell that you're off course. But some things happen in the business, you start veering off because things aren't set up correctly, and ultimately you end way off from the destination where you were planning, a couple years back. So hopefully that makes sense. But if you feel like you've kind of started to chart off course, right? It's not too late. You don't necessarily need to hire SimpleGrowth, but a lot of people do, and just say, hey, I've got this file, I've got this company, we've charted off course. Can you at least steer me back onto course? And some of the tips that I've kind of put into this presentation, you can take and run with, of course, or potentially reach out to us. But these are kind of useful things that you need to be thinking about, whether you're using Service Autopilot or another CRM, right? Mike, does that all make sense? I know I'm kind of going through this pretty quick. I want to give everybody just a quick rundown on what they should be thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say what's up to Hobart Barrett watching as well live, and absolutely. So Dylan, from what I've seen is you're going to break down all the different things that we need to kind of look at. So if you're using Service Autopilot, this is kind of your checklist of things you should be looking at. I know the biggest mistake I made when I set up actually both of the CRMs I used, the one before I used Service Autopilot and then when I used Service Autopilot, I rushed to get the billing and scheduling set up all at once, but I didn't understand all the foundational things, how they built upon each other. And I had a lot of gaps of operational issues. So when I went to do my marketing plan or sales tracking, a lot of that data wasn't there. So I like to say the old analogy, good data in, good data out. What I ran into when I rushed to a certain area of the software is I had no data in and I had no data out, so I couldn't make those decisions. And when I bought into Jonathan Potoshnik of the Lawn Care Millionaire and the co-founder of Service Autopilot with John Caldwell's vision of Service Autopilot, I bought into that whole vision, and to no fault of them, but my own, is I rushed to one spot and should have really started building upon the things you're going to be talking about here. So I'm glad you're breaking it down so people don't make the same mistakes that you and I did in the early days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And we definitely talk about good data in and good data out for sure. Don't you worry. So obviously there's a better way, right? You don't need to be struggling. You don't need to be, fighting against your CRM. Sometimes it just takes a second opinion to look at it and say, this is how you should be doing it, right? You can always look at and see how features work of the software that you might be using. But sometimes, and I wish I would have done this earlier in my business journey, was just say, let's have someone that's literally used this exact software in this exact industry just come in and tell me what they're seeing actually works. And it can save you literally years of kind of back and forth of trying to figure it out. So, this is how we normally help people. And like I said, take this and run with it. Most people can implement this to some degree themselves for sure. But the main things that we look at are like the service pricing, the budgeted hours, and your break-even costs. This is a fundamental part that you were kind of mentioning you overlooked a little bit in your initial setup of the CRM. Everybody just skips to, let's get some service pricing in there and get things scheduled. I got to start doing jobs and making money. It really does pay dividends to get everything properly set up. And then once those things are set up, people really tend to falter on the estimate workflow. If you're taking multiple days to get a quote out nowadays, that's just not going to cut it. For simple services, really, you should have a seamless estimating process that you can quote over the phone. And if your system's not set up, that's going to be a very, very hard task to do. And you're losing jobs to competitors that are quicker than you. Now, estimate workflow is one portion of it, but also we need to be talking about the entire business workflow as well, from lead acquisition all the way to billing, right? All these things are main parts of the CRM that if you don't have a regimented system for, you can really falter. And even though the owner might actually have a pretty good pulse on it, is this thing so set up that not only the owner but the office admin, but the lower level employees all understand and are all working together with the CRM instead of kind of clashing forces. Now that's kind of a high level business workflow, but after that, right, it's not just we do this once and we never need to look at this thing again. You need to be tracking some KPIs, and you need to be tracking the budgeted hours. These budgeted hours can't just be pulled out of a hat and plopped into a service. They need to be actually based off of something, which we'll go over as long as we have time here today. And I think we're making pretty good time, so this should be 100% doable. And then another main portion that I like to look at often initially when we're working with people is, how are you doing sales-wise? Having really strong sales fixes a lot of minor problems in a business. And if you're not tracking that sales information in the CRM, ideally automatically, so a lot of this stuff can be done with really no extra work or manpower, but you got to be tracking your sales. Where are they coming from? How many of them are we converting? And I'll kind of show a quick example later, but unfortunately, I don't know about you, Mike, but most of the time when I check out some of these sales reports, especially in Service Autopilot, the number one sales source is unfortunately unknown, which you really can't make too many decisions when 45% of your customers are coming from unknown, right?
Right. Yeah. You just got to take the time and train your staff each time to do due diligence. Just put it in there. It's just needed.
Yep. 100%. So, this part here cannot be overlooked, right? You got to be starting on a strong foundation. Some people want to jump ahead. They hear about automations. They see the potential of automations. They want to go right there. Sometimes you actually got to take a couple steps back and say, is what we're building on even sound, right? We've got to have a strong foundation. So basically, we look at the company budgeted break even, right? If you don't know your break even number, I challenged everybody last night on the webinar, but if you don't know your break even number right now, you got to know that number. You need to have a pulse on every time we send a person out in the field, what do we need to be recovering? And if you're thinking, I pay my people $16 an hour, whatever that is, maybe I got to be recovering 18. That's just not the case, right? There's a lot of overhead that you need to be recovering every time you send out a person in the field. So if you don't know that, there's a very high likelihood that your prices were never set up to truly be profitable, or we're just guessing and hoping for the best, which is really no way to run and scale and grow a business. And then the budgeted hours. SimpleGrowth itself has basically a spreadsheet of industry averages for different mower sizes, for different home cleaning services, whether it's a deep clean or a regular weekly clean. Snow removal, different plow sizes. There's a ton of stuff, the data that we've collected as well, but this is the type of numbers that we're actually putting into the services that you're quoting in Service Autopilot, so that you have a baseline amount of budgeted hours that this job should take, and we're not just guessing, right? This is really the foundational part of setting up the CRM. So we kind of use this flow chart when we're setting up companies as kind of our guiding light. We take what can be a fairly complicated software. A lot of people say Service Autopilot is great, but there's a lot of stuff going on, and we really simplify it down. And I know it says in the cleaning industry here, but really, I'll be completely honest. It's going to be
the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's the exact same per industry. So really, that should say service industry. But these are, I won't go over every kind of nuts and bolts here. And if Mike, you want to add into anything, we definitely can. But at least the blue parts, we should kind of quickly go over and say, do you have a regimented system for each one of these that everybody in the company understands and that it's fully set up? Because if it's not fully set up, people are going to be kind of just mismatching things together, and we're just kind of getting by at that point.
So in those blue areas, Dylan, you've got a website and you've got your office intake. So how are we getting the people in the system? Mm-hmm. How are we going to go in and actually get them into the software such as Service Autopilot? So are we going in and doing double entry? No, we're going to bring them in with duplicate checking through a V3 form and a phone intake form. And then that second one, if I remember correctly, is the estimate process, all the things you've talked about, the budgeted time, the production rates. How do we actually go out and standardize the system can be delegated? And then if we don't close them over the phone, hopefully we do with those gateway services, how do we get the email with the property specific pricing and the ability to check off the services with an electronic signature? So I love what you're doing here because you're just breaking it down and making it a simple flow. We like to call this a 6 to 8 screens to success at SimpleGrowth. And if you were at my talk at SA5, Chris Volpe and I broke this down. Actually, SA6, Chris Volpe and I broke this down, and people were like, "Wow, you guys have taken 8 to 10 to 15 screens I'm currently using and just solidified it." So, Dylan, I'll let you run with it from here. But this is the key to success, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, you know, even if an estimate is lost, right, people are not really handling these leads and actually doing what you're supposed to be doing to close out these files properly and keep a really, really clean database, which pays dividends when we need to automate or when we need to filter down our lists. So if the estimate is 1, we kind of go through the process of what you should be doing. A lot of people falter here where they have literally a bunch of estimates that have been accepted that are just kind of sitting there idle because the office staff doesn't have a regimented workflow of what they need to be doing. Now, the scheduling the work, right? Are you scheduling things properly to minimize the amount of double work each year? We have a lot of people that come springtime, especially in the lawn care industry, they're literally having to reschedule all of their work because they don't know who renewed, who didn't. If this person said they just want to take our service again every year, or if they wanted us to call. It's a pretty big issue. Packages in Service Autopilot are pretty dialed out with an auto renew, a call to renew, and a do not renew. But there's a lot of other service variations, one-time services that might be likely to renew, right? All these things should be scheduled a little bit differently and really need to be kind of methodically thought about before you just start, you know, kind of shotgun approach of scheduling everything. And then the routing, right? Your actual people in the field with, you know, your 2 biggest expenses most of the time, your equipment and your actual labor out there doing the work. Well, have you really thought about your routes and are these as efficient as they should be? Because if not, you're definitely leaving a ton of money on the table. So the dispatch board and the closeout day screen. Do you have a really good pulse on your closeout day screen, which is kind of your last line of defense, to make sure that, first of all, the jobs got done, but second of all, that they were clocked in and out properly. I know a lot of people here can probably attest to this, but there's some human errors that can be made by some of your field staff of them not clocking in and out properly, right? So if you're not checking this, you know, for a couple minutes a day, you know, you can't say the reports are inaccurate. You got to have basically this 100% checked to ensure that we're going to have good data in those reports. So we kind of go over a couple-step process for this closeout day screen that'll really make you confident in the numbers that you have when it comes to invoicing so that you don't need to be checking. And let me just mute that here. So you don't need to be checking, you know, thousands of invoices at the end of the month. That could be a pretty big burden to have to flip through every single one of those. But if you're really, really confident in the jobs that got done correctly and were billed out correctly, come invoice time, you should be pretty confident in charging, you know, upwards of 1,000 invoices at a time, no problem. So that's kind of the guiding light that we use when we're training to make sure that all these systems are set up correctly in the system and that you fully understand them and your team members also understand them. And that's kind of a vital point here. So I'll go over some of the things that really in the lead acquisition process, you need to make sure that you're capturing this data in order to have a really, really good informational system so that if you ever do want to do automations in the future, you're not thinking, I never even captured the correct data from the get-go. So upon lead entry here, basically we got to be capturing all the main data. You know, you got to be asking every single one of your clients nowadays for an email and a cell phone. Right, it's no longer okay just to kind of throw a random number in the home phone field and hope for the best and have no idea if that's a cell phone. You got to be capturing at least those, and those are going to be vital to your marketing down the line, whether you're doing automations or whether you're sending these things out manually. And then under the details tab, right, are you segmenting your residential and commercial customers, right? If we're automating or if you're automating, you're going to want to have a slightly different conversation for that commercial customer that might manage, you know, some large properties, and a residential customer where you're selling them, you know, potentially a $300 fertilization contract. We're going to have two completely different conversations with those types of people. And then ultimately, like Mike had mentioned as well, you got to be manually putting the sales source in here. Yes, we like to be capturing that automatically through a form, but of course, people are going to walk into your office. They're going to call your office, right? Does everybody in your office currently know that this is a vital kind of drop down in this quick lead entry, right? I would wager a guess that probably not, right? So we have a very regimented process that we go through when we're training people to make sure that all of these are really being done the exact same way, whether I'm putting someone in or Mike's putting someone in. Right? We need to have consistent data.
Whew. And if you might see my typing skills, you're not sure if you want me to put them in, but we get them in.
The same way, bearing some spelling mistakes.
Ooh, touche.
So if you're measuring, right, once the lead is in, you got to have a really, really succinct way to be measuring these properties, ideally over the phone, right? If you don't know this down pat, you're going to immediately default to say, you know what, I'll get back to you, right? So it's actually a major competitive advantage, believe it or not, to be able to be confident enough to have the phone here and start measuring out this property while kind of addressing some of the pain points of the customer. Right, we were able to win a lot of sales over our competitors that weren't using a program like this because it wasn't a 1 or a 2 day process to get them a quote. We were doing it right over the phone, and the customers were wowed by how exact we were. But of course, not every single quote you're going to be able to measure online. Right? Maybe the satellite images are very poor. Maybe there's some other factors like you do design build where you actually need to go on site to see some variables at the property, right? So we've created what we call an on-site estimate form where this can be pulled up on the mobile app and Service Autopilot. And when you send someone out to go to the property to either meet the client or just inspect the property, instead of busting out the trusty notepad and having all these notes on a notepad that may or may not spill coffee on it, I hate to say it, but I got a couple loose notes here myself.
Mobile app, on-site mobile form is the way to go.
That's the default, right? Even sitting here at a desk, you default to the notes, and that's the same thing that your office and field staff are doing as well, right? So when we're actually out in the field, use the technology that you're paying for. We have this on-site form that can be pulled up on the mobile app, and all the data can be entered in here. And we have a very, very unique way of linking this to a template so that there's no fumbling of numbers, and you can actually present the customer a quote right on site instead of saying, yeah, let me go, kind of sharpen my pencil and I'll get back to you in a couple of days, right? So if everything is 100% set up correctly, you can really, really shorten the sales process and literally right on site, pull up a template with all of your main services kind of already in this template, and you're not fumbling for any numbers because you have the rate in here. You have the amount of visits, you have the budgeted hours, and these weren't just estimated, they're based off of your production rate. And then another major part here is you actually have your all-in budgeted cost. So when you're presenting this to a customer and they're really pressuring you, I got a quote for this amount, if you're willing to lean on the price a little bit, you really know how much margin you actually have to play with. Because not every service is going to be kind of a rosy 45% margin like this. You might have some that are 10 or 15 that are not quite a loss leader, but are really not a big revenue generator that you don't want to be going and losing money on this particular service. But if you don't have everything built out, you're not going to be able to make these quick decisions on the property. So we are running a little bit short on time here. But that is kind of the nuts and bolts of everything that you do need set up. So I'm going to just kind of zip down here. I do want to kind of just quickly touch on this, one of the main KPI kind of reports that I like to look at when we're dealing with someone, and just kind of touch on the unknown as being typically the main sales source that we're seeing for people in the system. So I challenge everybody who might be listening to this, go into your report center in whatever CRM you're using and see where your sales are coming from. Right? This is something that you should really be reviewing. I would wager at least on a monthly basis to see how your ads are performing and how you can tweak that to better your sales season that you're probably underway in right now. And if unknown is kind of your biggest source here, that's a major problem. You need to be looking at setting up your CRM more effectively to be capturing that data right off the bat. So hopefully that makes sense. Basically what we have here is we have a couple products that will help with this, but I'm just going to scoot right to the end and basically say, you know, you can drop a comment here, but if you might think that your system needs a little bit of a review to see if you are kind of glaringly missing some things, that's my personal number. Never hesitate to give it out. So you can call or text that number if you want to maybe set up a time where we can look at some of these things and see if there are any glaring errors that you might be missing out on.
Love it, Dylan. I know you got a compressed schedule, but no sales pitch there by any means. I love when we have people on the SA Weekly Talk Show. We talk how can we reach out to them to get some free help. So I know a lot of times you do that audit of the system free of charge and just give some people some help. So if they want to do it themselves, great. If they need some help, obviously you and the team are there as well. So I really appreciate your time. I know you got to hop off, but I'm going to give, if it's cool with you, once you pop off, I'm going to give a quick 5 to 10 minute bonus here before I hop on my call of just touching on how to put those sales sources in and what that clock in and clock out of the data looks like. So if it's cool with you, what I'm going to do is run solo here for the last 5 minutes to kind of bring full circle, if you're a Service Autopilot user, how to actually kind of set some of this stuff up as a little give of free information, how to be an expert in the system. So I will catch you again later this afternoon on a team meeting, Dylan. I appreciate it. If you bear with me, I'm going to pop up on the screen here. Everybody else watching live or recorded, how to actually set some of this stuff up.
Alrighty.
Sounds all right, brother. Good. Appreciate it. Thanks for the knowledge.
Yeah, no worries. Bye.
All right. All right. So want to thank Dylan for just joining us, kind of breaking down some of the things you need for success in Service Autopilot and have it set up completely set up. Two big things he touched on there were lead sources and making sure we had good data going in and out of the mobile app and what that can do for non-emotional price ranging or price increases and how to know if you're making money on average across all your accounts on a daily and weekly basis. So over the next 10 minutes, I'm going to break it down really quickly inside Service Autopilot as a certified advisor. And if you want Dylan to check out and give you a quick free audit of your Service Autopilot account, we've been doing this for months and a lot of people have taken advantage of it. And literally people have taken that data and gone and updated the systems themselves for success for this year and the years to come. So what I'm going to do is show in the stream here in one of my test accounts inside Service Autopilot. And if you're wondering, well, Mike, that all sounds great, but how do I do this if I am a Service Autopilot user? Well, good news. I'm going to show you how to do that. So what you're going to do is go up to the gear icon here and click on the gear icon. And under the gear icon, that's kind of where everything falls in. So what we're going to do is type in client sources and click into this. And under those client sources in this test account, I've got 2020, every door direct mailing with the long copy, 2020, every door direct mailing with a picture. So what you really want to do is if you've got print mail or door hangers, you really want to define what they are so you know what marking copies works. So let's just say we're going in and we had a Facebook ad with the date. Whatever those are, we want to build those out. But I'm going to show you how to add a source. And if there's a marketing spend around that, so you're spending physical money to do that, how do we track that to actually know what our lead acquisition cost is, our conversion ratio, and our cost per acquired client? And then eventually, when there's enough data in there, we'll actually be able to see what is your client lifetime value. So what you'll find, at least what Dylan and I found in our businesses using Service Autopilot, is each lead source is not equal, and they are definitely not the same. Some are winners and some are, well, just not as good, and some definitely are losers. But what we want to do is put that in there, and basically, let's just say we put our test source in here, and we build that out, and then if you had a code for it. Now, once this is saved and we're running physical ad money to this, we can add a campaign and put a start. So let's just say our test source was our test door hanger with picture. Maybe we have one with all words and one with pictures, but that's an easy way for our team to say, hey, how'd you hear about us? Oh, I saw you guys on a door hanger. We called. Oh, cool. Was it the one with the picture of the family in the grass, or was it the one just that had all words on it? Oh, I saw the one with the picture. Perfect. That's the one we're going to grab. What we're going to do is going to start our campaign and say if we went from April 1st to the end of April, we put that end in there. And let's say we're distributing 5,000 flyers and our total expense was maybe $1,200 bucks. That is going to be able to set the foundational data. So when you enter it in, we run a report, we can see how many from those 5,000 called and how many turned into a client. And based on the $1,200 expense, what was the cost to acquire that client? So that is the data we're looking at there. Once you hit save, it's in there. And when I go into the plus icon, add a lead, just like Dylan was talking about, after we add the main information in here, we're going in under details, under the sales tab, and we're selecting the source. And by doing that, that is going to track our lead intake for our client lead source. So the next thing I want to look at is really quickly is when he talked about using your mobile and having the crews clock in and out of the drive time and how that data needed to be correctly in there correctly. The first thing I'm going to recommend is at the end of each day or the beginning of the next day, we look at the previous day, and on the closeout day screen, we are going to go and create a view that has job variance, and it has some other data in there, but the main one is variance and actual time. So we know how long it actually took. Now, once we have that, we want to make sure there's an accurate start and stop time, a budgeted time, and a price for every job. Now, if that job falls underneath a installment contract, we want to create a contract that has that particular service underneath it. We associate it to the contract. So it's not going to double bill, but we have the price and budgeted time for our reporting. Now, what we've got here is an export from the reports under the under the report center. And off to the left, there is a report that looks almost like a little toaster oven. And these are pre-canned reports that right here you can pull out. And this is the job cost report. And this is one I exported out on the next page. But what I want to suggest is on a daily basis here, and we've automated a lot of this, but it just makes sense more in a manual process. If we had budgeted time from our dispatch board of, say, 19 hours for that one crew, we'd put that in here. And let's just say they started at 7 a.m. and they worked to 5 p.m., which is 10 hours. And they had a half-hour lunch. And there were 2 people on the crew. So what the sheet is saying automatically is we've got gross hours of 20 hours, payroll hours minus an hour here for lunch. So our payroll liability is 19 hours. And we budgeted 19 hours. So we were over and under 0 hours. You can see the sheet here says 100%. So that's the number that goes on your shop wall or the TV in your shop. And basically says, hey, if the guys and girls gave 100%, they hit their budgeted time. So let's just say we gave them 18 hours and it took them 19. So they're 1 hour over budget. Now that number goes down to 94%. So that's an easy conversation that I can have with my team and say, hey, you guys or girls only gave 94%. You didn't necessarily do your job with a quality constraint. Now, that quality constraint is obviously very important because as we're pushing productivity, we want to have a quality constraint tied into that. Now, let's just say fictitiously we bump this up to 20 hours and it only took them 19. So we're 1 hour under budget. So they did it in 1 hour less than they needed to. Our budget percent is 105%. So now we can say, hey, you guys kicked butt. You gave 105% today with a quality standard. Kudos. And now this is an apples to apples comparison across all of your crews throughout the week. So we've got a sum total for each day and a total for the whole crew for the week. And then on the far left, I've got a summary here of the total actual versus budgeted for all my crews per division. So now we can start to track these things and give the crews feedback with their budget versus actual. It's going to create a daily cadence for your office admin or whoever that is, the manager, the business owner, to check the closeout day screen after each day to make sure jobs that weren't finished were pushed over to the next day. We have good start and stop times, of budgeted time, and a price that we're charging. So these are all the things that Dylan was talking about in his talk that I'm kind of breaking down how you can do this in your business with some very simple tools that you can build. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the job costing report. So this is all the data for one client. So our KPI, our key performance indicators that we're looking at on the first sheet here is, on average, do we hit or beat our budgeted time per day, per week, per crew? Now, there's obviously going to be some defined winners and losers in that list of clients. But when we go in, and I see it right now in the spring, and I cringe every time I see it. And I did it myself, so I can't say that I haven't done this. But when people go out and raise their prices by a percentage across the board, or X amount of dollars per cleaning or X amount of dollars per cut, what you're doing is alienating your most profitable clients, and you're keeping the clients that are losers and not making the money. And they're probably the biggest pain in the butt. So what I'm recommending is you go into the report center in Service Autopilot after you have good data in. So you have good data out. We go to that little toaster icon, looking icon, and run a job costing report. And now I've got two clients here, examples, but we charged $54.28 for each cut. So on average, it was $54.28 a cut. Now, the actual revenue per man hour was $54.28 and $60.31. So on average, we generated $57.30 per man hour. So this is only based on the data getting clocked in and out of these jobs. So if this wasn't a test account I pulled this out of, we should have a clock in and clock out of drive time. And what that's going to give us is a labor cost effect. So this would be your labor with labor burden for the employees on that specific crew that day, and a drive time cost effect. So the drive time is going to be clocking in and out of the drive time for that non-billable cost effect of labor with labor burden. Very, very important. So if this wasn't a test account we pulled this out of, you would have some really good data. But on average, we're making $57.30. So if you said, hey, my hourly goal is $55 per man hour, so you're $3.30 higher than your goal, well, the sheet's going to say, you know what, you don't need to raise your price. But what if you were going into the season and said, you know, Mike, I need to be at $60 an hour to hit my hourly goal after I've talked to a financial consultant such as Jason Kopp or Jim Houston, and they've given me this number. Now I know non-emotional, this is the number I need. I need $60 an hour. Well, what the sheet says is, you know, you need to raise this price on average by $2.56 per cut to hit your hourly goal of 60. So this is going to give you the information if you take the time this year to make sure you've got good clock in and clock out of the mobiles, or if someone's physically typing them in. But that data will now give you the ability in 3 to 6 months to raise your prices non-emotionally on just the accounts that are not hitting your financial threshold. So thank you again, Dylan. If you're watching the recorded version of this, he had to hop off early, but I wanted to show you 2 takeaways. So if you're using Service Autopilot this year, that you can go in the next 10 to 15 minutes and create your lead source tracking and create basically a reoccurring process in your office, whether it's you, an admin, or several admin, and what is the net effect of good data out, and how to check that on your closeout day screen, and then where to go to export this report and be able to raise all your prices with no emotion. So my challenge to you is go in, put in your client sources, put in your marketing spends with the dates and the quantities, and then ensure good data into the closeout day screen. So when we run these reports and we show you how to do this in another 3 to 6 months, we can raise our prices, unlike the rest of everybody else using other software programs, but we can raise our prices to the penny non-emotionally to hit our hourly goal and leave our most profitable accounts alone. Because why would we want to raise a price on something we're already making more than we already needed to? So we'll see you again at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. SA Weekly Talk Show. Your host, Mike Callahan, bringing knowledge, how to better utilize Service Autopilot and how to set things up in an expert workflow, which took me and Dylan and the SimpleGrowth team, some of us 5 or 6 years to figure out. But we've lived it, we've worked it in the trenches, and we are here in the mindset of abundance to give you the knowledge to go out and continue to build your empire and your service business on Service Autopilot as a certified advisor. So we'll see you again next Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. SA Weekly Talk Show. Mike Callahan, your host, and special guest Dylan Rothenberg of the SimpleGrowth team, bringing some knowledge today. So we'll see you again next week, same place, same time.